They say the real Snow White story wasn't about a princess, it was about a house. In November 1986, the Mercer family moved into an abandoned Victorian at the edge of Eldon Falls, Maine. A towering structure with rotted shutters and stained glass windows that caught the sunset like spilled blood. The locals called it Briar Hollow House. No one had lived there in nearly a decade. No one would explain why. They ignored the way neighbors went quiet when they mentioned the address. On their second day, while her husband unpacked upstairs, Mrs. Mercer ventured into the basement. In the far corner sat an antique trunk draped in a gray, crumbling sheet. She pulled it free. Inside was a black funeral dress, old-fashioned and severe. Beneath it rested a cracked porcelain mask with painted red lips and hollow eyes. At the bottom of the trunk were 7 glass jars arranged in a perfect row. Each jar contained a red apple. They floated in a dark liquid, perfectly preserved, their skins smooth and gleaming as if freshly picked. Not a bruise, not a wrinkle. Mrs. Mercer felt a chill crawl up her spine. She closed the trunk and said nothing. That night, their 9-year-old daughter Emily woke screaming. When her parents rushed in, she was sitting upright in bed staring at the footboard. "There's a lady," she whispered. "She has black hair. She told me not to eat the red ones." "Not to eat what?" her mother asked. "The red ones," Emily repeated. "They're for her." They blamed stress, new house, new town, overactive imagination. But over the next week, something in Emily shifted. She stopped eating regular meals. She would sit at the kitchen table long after everyone else had finished, staring at the fruit bowl in the center. Her reflection in the window pane looked paler each day. Her lips darkened to a deep, unnatural red. She began humming to herself, soft, tuneless sounds that made the dog whimper and hide. Thunder cracked through Eldon Falls just after 2 a.m., shaking the old beams of Briar Hollow House. Mr. Mercer jolted awake to a sound slicing through the rain, chewing, slow, wet, deliberate. It was coming from Emily's room. He rushed down the hall and pushed open her door. Lightning illuminated the scene in harsh white flashes. Emily sat on the floor, her nightgown pooled around her knees. In her hands was one of the apples from the basement jars, dark liquid dripping onto the carpet. Behind her crouched a tall woman in a black funeral dress. Long hair spilled over her face as skeletal hands wrapped around Emily's, guiding the fruit to her mouth. "Emily!" he shouted, slamming the light switch. The room flooded with yellow light. Emily was alone. The apple dropped from her hands and rolled across the floor. Mr. Mercer stared at it. Buried deep in the flesh were bite marks, wide, jagged impressions, far too large to belong to a child. And from somewhere in the room, soft as breath against glass, came a whisper. 7 are never enough.